Look at the global supply chain. Cargo ships moving electronics, trucks hauling food, planes delivering medicine. Tying all of this physical movement together is an invisible thread, the specific currency required to buy the oil that powers it. Controlling the global energy currency allows Washington to dictate economic conditions in distant nations, exerting a level of influence that traditionally required physical occupation. Following the Second World War, global leaders established the US dollar as the center of the world's financial system. Under this arrangement, foreign governments could confidently hold dollars because they were directly backed by and exchangeable for physical gold. Over the next few decades, the United States printed massive amounts of dollars to fund overseas conflicts and domestic programs. Foreign nations realized the sheer volume of paper dollars far exceeded the gold held in American vaults. When countries rushed to trade their paper back for physical bars, President Richard Nixon shut it down. He closed the gold window, leaving the dollar completely detached from physical metal. Stripped of its gold backing, the dollar's value plummeted. Then the OPEC oil embargo hit. Overnight, oil prices quadrupled. Gas stations ran dry, and inflation tore through the American economy. The fiat currency was drifting, and the American financial system was deeply vulnerable. To survive, the US dollar urgently needed a new physical commodity to anchor its value. Washington sent Treasury officials to Riyadh to negotiate directly with the Saudi royal family. They arrived with a specific, highly targeted proposal. The terms required Saudi Arabia to price and sell all of its crude oil exports exclusively in US dollars. In exchange, the United States guaranteed the military survival of the House of Saud. Washington provided advanced weaponry, military training, and total protection against any regional rivals. Saudi Arabia was the undisputed heavyweight of the OPEC cartel. Once they agreed to these terms, the rest of the oil-producing nations quickly adopted the same standard. By tying the world's most critical energy resource to American paper, the entire globe was locked into a dollar-based energy market. Consider the position of a country like Japan or Germany. To run their factories and heat their homes, they have to import oil. But because of this new agreement, they cannot buy that oil with their own money. This diagram illustrates the necessary workaround. Before buying a single drop of fuel, these nations have to convert their local currencies into US dollars. They then send those dollars to oil producers like Saudi Arabia to secure their energy supply. The oil producers end up with massive surpluses of US cash, more than they can spend domestically. So they funnel those profits straight back into Wall Street, purchasing US government debt and treasury bonds. Economists call this process petrodollar recycling. Because every nation needs oil, every nation needs dollars. This constant requirement creates an artificial, unquenchable demand for US currency and US debt. It grants America what is known as an exorbitant privilege. If another country wants $1 trillion worth of electronics or cars, they have to produce something of equal value to pay for it. The United States can simply print paper fiat currency, exchange it for tangible goods, and rely on the rest of the world to absorb the printed money as reserves. This mechanical loop provides immense fiscal resilience. It effectively forces foreign economies to subsidize American domestic spending. Moving trillions of dollars around the planet requires a massive digital infrastructure. This is handled by SWIFT, the global messaging network that banks use to securely authorize international transactions. Because the global oil market is priced in dollars, nearly all of these cross-border banking transactions must eventually clear through American banks. This central choke point gives Washington deep visibility into the financial interactions of the entire global economy. That surveillance easily converts into enforcement. By issuing sanctions, the United States can instruct that central hub to reject a specific country's transactions. The target is instantly severed from the global financial grid, freezing their ability to trade. Because the American economy relies on this constant global demand for dollars, threats to the petrodollar are often treated as threats to national stability. When leaders in Iraq and Libya attempted to transition their oil sales to the euro or gold, they were targeting the mechanism that funds the U.S. government. In both cases, these financial shifts preceded military interventions that removed those regimes and reinforced the dollar's dominance. Maintaining the petrodollar loop has been a primary objective of American foreign policy. because the dollar's global utility is the ultimate source of U.S. leverage. Two recent events cracked the foundation of this system. The first was the decision to freeze hundreds of billions of dollars in foreign reserves, proving that dollar-denominated wealth is only an asset if Washington continues to approve of the holder's foreign policy. Second, the U.S. shale boom rapidly increased domestic energy production, reducing America's reliance on Middle Eastern oil. Seeing foreign reserves frozen overnight sent a clear signal to central banks worldwide. Holding dollars comes with strict geopolitical conditions. As a result, rival nations began actively building infrastructure to settle trade outside of U.S. jurisdiction. The primary vehicle for this shift is the expanded BRICS alliance, a geopolitical bloc including Brazil, Russia, India, China, and newer members. They are methodically executing a strategy of de-dollarization, settling their bilateral trade in local currencies. Even Saudi Arabia is pivoting. Under their Vision 2030 initiative, they are transitioning from a strictly oil-dependent kingdom into a diversified global investment hub, willing to engage with multiple economic spheres. And this led to a definitive policy shift. The very nation that helped build the petrodollar has officially opened the door to accepting Chinese yuan for its oil contracts. 50 years of a strict, exclusive monopoly tying the global energy market to the US dollar is fracturing. To replace U.S. Treasury bonds in their vaults, central banks are accumulating record amounts of physical gold. It provides a neutral reserve asset that carries no counterparty risk and cannot be sanctioned by a foreign government. Simultaneously, they are building digital alternatives like the mBridge project. This is a multi-CBDC, or central bank digital currency, platform designed to instantly settle cross-border trades directly between nations, completely bypassing Western financial rails. Major Gulf nations are managing this transition carefully through a currency peg dynamic. They keep their local currencies pegged to the dollar to maintain domestic stability, while quietly testing these new, alternative digital frameworks in the background. The US dollar is highly liquid and deeply entrenched in global contracts. It is not going to crash to zero tomorrow. What is happening is a gradual, systemic fragmentation. We are watching the infinite money loop dissolve. As energy trade splits across local currencies and neutral assets, the exorbitant privilege wanes. Eventually, the United States will have to balance its ledgers and play by the exact same economic rules as the rest of the world. If you want to understand the deeper financial mechanics driving these geopolitical shifts, subscribe to Dollar Dose for more.